For over 60 years, we thought we knew what was at the very bottom of the Mariana Trench, and the answer, everyone agreed, was basically nothing. The deepest place on the entire planet, nearly 7 miles straight down, was supposed to be a dead zone, a cold, black, crushing wasteland with almost nothing living in it. When one of the first people to ever reach the bottom described what he saw down there, the words he used were desolate and alien. An empty grave at the bottom of the world. That was the story. That was what the textbook said. The deepest ocean was a barren pit where life simply couldn't get a foothold. Except that story just fell apart. Because over the last couple of years, scientists have been going back down into the deepest trenches on Earth with better technology than we've ever had. And what they're finding is turning everything we believed completely upside down. The bottom of the trench, the place we were so sure was empty and dead, is turning out to be one of the most surprising, most alive, and frankly most confusing places on the entire planet. And the discoveries are coming so fast and they're so strange that scientists are genuinely struggling to keep up with what it all means. The deepest place on Earth is changing everything we thought we knew about it. And honestly, we can't fully explain what we're seeing, so let's talk about it. And real quick, if you're the kind of person who finds this stuff as fascinating as I do me a small favor and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We go this deep on the ocean's strangest secrets every single week, and you're not going to want to miss what we dive into next. All right, let's get into it. To understand why this is such a big deal, you first have to understand why everyone was so convinced the bottom of the trench was dead in the first place. And the reasoning actually made a lot of sense. Down there at the very bottom, you're dealing with the most hostile conditions imaginable. There is zero sunlight down there at all. The sun's rays don't come anywhere close to reaching that deep, so the entire place is locked in permanent total darkness. It's just barely above freezing, and the pressure is so crushing, so unimaginably intense that it would flatten a human being in an instant and can crush metal submarines like empty cans. But the real problem, the thing that made scientists so sure life could not really thrive down there, comes down to food. Think about it. Almost every living thing on Earth depends, in one way or another, on the sun. Plants use sunlight to grow, animals eat the plants, other animals eat those animals, and on it goes. The sun is the engine that powers basically all life on the planet. But down at the bottom of the trench, there is no sun, which means there are no plants, which means there is no obvious source of energy to build a food chain on. The only food that was supposed to reach the bottom was what scientists rather grimly call marine snow. It is basically the crumbs of the ocean, tiny bits of dead plants and dead animals and waste that drift down from the sunlit waters far above, slowly falling through the darkness like a gentle, endless snowfall of garbage. And by the time it sinks all the way down to the deepest part of the trench, there is barely anything left of it. So the logic was simple. Almost no food, no sunlight, freezing cold, crushing pressure. Sure, maybe a few tough little microbes could scrape by and maybe the odd weird fish could pass through, but a real, thriving, bustling community of life? Impossible. There just was not enough energy down there to support it. That was the settled science. For decades, that was simply the accepted truth. And then scientists actually went and looked properly. And what they found broke the whole thing wide open. Because when researchers sent submersibles down into the deepest trenches recently, cameras rolling, they didn't find a desolate wasteland. They found the opposite. They found life. Not just a little bit of life, not a few scattered stragglers clinging to survival. They found entire sprawling communities of creatures thriving, packed together in dense colonies in a place we were absolutely certain couldn't support them. It was the deepest colony of animals ever discovered, living nearly 10 kilometers down in the crushing black cold at the very bottom of the world. And this wasn't some tiny patch either. These communities of creatures stretched on and on across the seafloor, forming what scientists described as almost a river of life running along the bottom of the trench, extending for hundreds and hundreds of miles. Fields of tube worms up to a foot long, waving their red tentacles in the dark. Piles of mollusks and clams sea cucumbers, spiky crustaceans, feathery sea lilies, and all kinds of worms, all crowded together, all flourishing in the single most hostile environment on the face of the earth, a hidden world teeming with creatures exactly where we swore there'd be nothing but empty mud. And you have to appreciate just how completely this flips the old story. For decades, the best description anyone had of the bottom of the trench was a lonely, silent void. The handful of people who'd actually been down there came back talking about how empty and alien it felt, like visiting a dead planet. That image was so strong, so widely accepted that nobody seriously expected it to be wrong. And then the cameras rolled across the seafloor and revealed the exact opposite. Thriving colonies packed so densely you could barely see the mud between them, in some places stretching farther than the length of entire countries. It wasn't a slightly less empty trench than we thought. It was a bustling, crowded, living landscape hiding in the one place we'd written off entirely. So how? How is this even possible? How can there be a thriving, bustling ecosystem in a place with no sunlight and almost no food falling from above? Where on earth are these animals getting the energy to survive, let alone flourish in such enormous numbers? And this is the part that genuinely rewrites the rulebook, because it turns out these creatures found a completely different way to live, a way that doesn't need the sun at all. Instead of relying on energy from sunlight drifting down from above, these deep-sea communities run on chemicals leaking up from below. Deep beneath the floor of the trench, chemicals like methane and hydrogen sulfide are seeping up through cracks and faults in the seafloor. And down there in the dark, there are special bacteria that can do something remarkable. Instead of using sunlight to make energy, the way a plant does, they use those chemicals. They literally eat the chemicals seeping out of the earth and turn them into energy. It's a process called chemosynthesis, and it's basically an entire alternative way of powering life that has nothing to do with the sun whatsoever. And these bacteria are the foundation of the whole hidden world. The tube worms and the clams have actually teamed up with them. They let these chemical-eating bacteria live inside their own bodies, and in return, the bacteria feed them. So the animals don't even really need to hunt for food. They've got a built-in power plant living inside them, running on the chemicals bubbling up from deep inside the planet. It's an entire food chain, an entire thriving ecosystem built from the ground up on the chemistry of the earth itself instead of the light of the sun. Think about what that actually means. We always assumed the sun was the ultimate source of nearly all life on Earth. And here at the very bottom of the world is a whole flourishing civilization of creatures that has completely opted out of that rule. They don't need the sun. They never did. They've been down there this entire time running on the raw chemistry of the planet in the one place we were absolutely positive was dead. And here's what makes this genuinely unsettling in the best possible way. This discovery suggests there's a vast, active, living world hidden beneath the deep ocean floor that we didn't even know existed. Because if the methane feeding these creatures is being produced by microbes deep down in the sediment, that means there is an entire enormous biosphere, an entire living system buried beneath the bottom of the ocean, quietly powering all of this. A hidden layer of life underneath the hidden layer of life. And we have barely even begun to understand it. And it doesn't stop at the animals you can see. Because when scientists analyzed the microscopic life down in the deepest parts of the trench, they found something almost hard to believe. They discovered thousands of species of microbes living down there, and the overwhelming majority of them, around 90%, were completely unknown to science. 90%. We went to the bottom of the ocean, scooped up a sample, and nearly everything in it was a brand new form of life that no human had ever documented before. An entire universe of unknown organisms sitting right there at the bottom of our own planet that we're only just now discovering exists. So let's go back to the title, because now you can see what it really means. The Mariana Trench is changing in a way we can't explain. And to be clear and honest with you, the trench itself, the physical hole in the ocean, isn't suddenly transforming overnight. What's changing, and changing incredibly fast, is everything we thought we knew about it. Our entire understanding of the deepest place on Earth is being rewritten in real time, and it's happening faster than scientists can fully make sense of it. Every single time we send something down there with modern equipment, we find something that contradicts what we believed just a few years ago. We thought it was dead. It's teeming with life. We thought life needed the sun. Down there, it doesn't. We thought there was almost nothing to discover in that empty pit. Instead, we're finding that most of what lives there is completely new to science, and that there might be a massive hidden biosphere underneath it that we never even suspected. The picture of the trench that we were so confident about is dissolving, and the new picture forming to replace it is stranger than anyone predicted, and the scientists themselves are the first to admit they don't have all the answers. They didn't expect to find these enormous communities. They can't fully explain yet how widespread this hidden life really is, or how deep beneath the seafloor that buried biosphere extends, or how many more brand new forms of life are waiting down there in the dark. Every dive raises more questions than it answers. They thought they were exploring a desolate wasteland, and instead they've stumbled onto one of the biggest biological surprises in modern history, and they're scrambling to understand it. Which leaves us with a genuinely humbling thought. We have mapped the surface of Mars. We've sent probes to the edge of the solar system. We think of ourselves as having explored our own planet pretty thoroughly, and yet the deepest part of our own ocean, a place on our own Earth, turns out to be so mysterious, so full of life we never knew about, and so quick to overturn everything we thought we understood that we're essentially discovering an alien world for the very first time, right here at home. The bottom of the Mariana Trench was supposed to be the emptiest, deadest, most desolate place on Earth. It's turning out to be one of the most alive. And the truth is, we're only just beginning to realize how little we ever actually knew about the bottom of our own world. So the next time someone tells you we've explored the whole planet, you can tell them about the hidden river of life at the bottom of the deepest trench, running on the chemistry of the Earth itself, most of it completely unknown to science, and the one place we were absolutely certain was dead. Because if the most desolate spot on Earth can surprise us this completely, it makes you wonder what else is still down there, waiting in the dark, for us to finally go and look. If you want to meet the individual creatures that have adapted to survive this crushing, lightless world, the strange and beautiful animals that call the deepest ocean home, then check out this video right here. Because as it turns out, the bottom of the world is a lot more crowded than we ever imagined.